I mean, what's the point? What's the point with this entire Deshaun Watson situation? I don't get it. I mean, what is the point? Like, here's what I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand. Both the NFLPA and the NFL apparently collectively bargained and agreed to this independent arbitrator. You go through this arbitration with this federal judge who hands out a ruling based off of the code of conduct that the NFL has and says it's going to be a 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson. Only to then the NFL comes back and says, no, we don't agree with that. We're going to take it back and revisit this. What's the point of going through an arbitration if you're just going to overrule the arbitration anyways and do your own damn thing? What's the point if you're the NFL of even doing that? What's the point if you're the NFL Players Association of agreeing to that? That's stupid. And then what's the point of saying you have a problem with the 6-game suspension to then turn around and you're negotiating apparently with the NFL Players Association for what the punishment for Deshaun Watson is supposed to be? How many parents negotiate with their kids around what the frickin' punishment is? Why should Deshaun Watson or the NFLPA have any ability to negotiate anything here? Why would the NFL want to negotiate anything here? What's the point? But then you go through all this exercise, all of this distraction, all this media attention, just to hand out an 11-game suspension, which sure as hell feels all types of arbitrary, and where you're going to fine Deshaun Watson $5 million or something like that. But ultimately, because of the way his contract was structured by Cleveland, that massive, all-guaranteed extension, Deshaun Watson will lose the $5 million, yes, from previous money he's earned, but he's not really losing anything off the top from his frickin' new contract extension. Again, what's the point? And honestly, I look at this whole Deshaun Watson situation and I say, what's the point of getting all worked up about it? Because one thing is absolutely clear. The Players Association, the owners, the league office, they don't care. And their behavior in this entire process and the outcome of this entire process clearly indicates they don't give a fuck. And honestly, as much as a lot of the fans want to pretend like they care, what's the point of creating that illusion? You really don't. Like, even look at the way that this is all playing out. He was magically suspended 11 games, and you're like, that sure is a random ass number. Why 11 games? Because his first game back would be, how ironic, against the Houston Texans. So talk about a sick, twisted way to approach this. Is you're defining and determining, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. We all know, let's not be naive about this. We know this is what happened. Is they determined the length of suspension in part and said, ooh, he could come back and he'll face off against the Houston Texans his first game back. That's going to have all types of subplots, all types of human interest stories, all types of drama, all types of interest generated. That makes us money. You know it. I know it. Let's stop BSing about it. So what's the point when this is still going to be turned into a situation to try and make the league more money? It's gross and it's sick, but let's not pretend like as a society that we give a shit. As far as Deshaun Watson and Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, I gotta tell you honestly, yeah, they're despicable and F them, but at least they're being honest. Deshaun Watson is showing no remorse, clearly doesn't think he did anything wrong, clearly doesn't care. And as reprehensible as that might be, I can at least respect the fact that he's being honest. Yeah, it sucks the reason he's being honest for. He's a piece of crap. But at least he's not pretending like he cares when he really doesn't. He clearly doesn't care. He just wants to play football and get paid. You know, Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, is talking about this young man is 26 and he's a high-level player at his position. Because that's what matters at the end of the day, right, Jimmy? You talk about a skid marks frickin' answer, but at least, if nothing else, it's incredibly revealing because that's the reality, that's the truth. And he's only reflective of our society, our media, sports fans. You really think that a ton of people are going to boycott the Browns or boycott and protest Browns games consistently when Deshaun Watson is playing in them? You're fucking crazy. Browns fans certainly as hell aren't going to give a shit because they're going to sit there and say if Deshaun Watson can help us win a championship one day, it's going to be all good. They'll pretend like they feel all dirty and grimy and slimy about it right now, but they don't. And frankly, I don't blame them. And you're going to say, well, that's a terrible thing to say. What does that say about women? Well, what does it say about our society and the way that we treat women in general? Again, let's fucking be honest about it. We clearly don't give a shit, so stop pretending like we do. We absolutely should. You shouldn't be able to do the things like Deshaun Watson has been accused of doing, then settle everything, but not have to show any remorse or admit anything whatsoever, so he basically has enabled the behavior. Now if he needs tissue massages, he's got to go through the damn organization. If you have to go to those levels to protect the guy that you gave $230 million guaranteed damn dollars to, maybe you shouldn't have traded for him and given him $230 million guaranteed damn dollars. For those that are going to sit there and say, well, you know, Ben Roethlisberger got like 6 games and he only had the one incident. Well, technically it was the second incident of Ben Roethlisberger versus consent. Ben won, consent nothing. But I'm with you. Like, this was a series of allegations which we did not get the benefit of seeing it go through full trial and being able to see all of the evidence and hear all sides presented, which is still, I thought, a very important concept in this country. So it's a lot of perspective and opinions based off of what you see and what you have heard. And they certainly don't look very good for Deshaun Watson. That's for damn sure. Also an important reminder of sometimes these guys may come across as they're squeaky clean, but what are they really like when the cameras and bright lights are off? Woo! Woo! Yikes. Ugh. Anyways, you look at this and you say, for all of this crap, he gets 11 games. And here comes Robert Kraft got no discipline. Yeah, but if Robert Kraft is going somewhere and paying for something where somebody knows that they're giving them the happy ending, that is different. It is not maybe the type of conduct and behavior you want to see from an NFL owner, but let's not pretend like these are exactly the same things. If you want to talk about, well, the trafficking piece, maybe, but, you know, you could have trafficking happening, but they, like, customer. Anyways, it's a whole different thing. Then you might bring up the thing about, well, Calvin Ridley got suspended for the entire year just for betting on games. Yeah, he was also betting on games involving his own team. That said, there is absolutely a fundamental problem in the system when you could get that number of allegations for doing things and being gropey-feely, assaulty, and borderline rapey with women. And you get fewer game suspension than a guy for doing some damn gambling. The optics there are absolutely atrocious. They are horrendous. Basically about the same damn suspension that a Stephen Ross gets for the damn tampering stuff with Brady and Sean Payton. Because, at the end of the day, the NFL doesn't care. They are all about the almighty dollar. The only reason they ever pretend to give a crap about these things, like off-the-field behavior and so forth, and CTE or player safety, is because they feel like it's good PR. But fundamentally, deep down, they are greedy bastards, and the league, the owners, and the commissioner that they've put in place, they don't care. You may think they do. They do not. You may want to pretend that they do. They do not. You may want to think they do because it makes you feel better about supporting a product like this, but the reality is they don't. And we can look at so many other forms of sports and entertainment and look at them and say, you know what? If we had a better moral compass as a society, we wouldn't support this shit, but we don't, so we do. You know what I mean? So what's the point? What's the point of getting all worked up when eventually this is just going to become a secondary background story anyways with Deshaun Watson? And you know it is. You know it is. The media will be, rubbing his anus soon enough. Like, look at how glowing the media coverage came over Ray Lewis. Oh, Lord, he found God. Praise Jesus. Could find God, but couldn't find his bloody white suit. Look at how the media treated Big Ben Roethlisberger. Again, they don't care. And they are a reflection of the fans and the sporting society, who also doesn't care. It would have been better, frankly, if the NFL said, well, he hasn't been convicted of anything, so we're not going to suspend him at all. And you're going to say, well, what type of message does that send? Well, what type of message does it send to sit there and have Deshaun Watson accused of the number of allegations that he was, and he's not even suspended for an entire season? You can get suspended more for betting on NFL games as an NFL player than you can for getting assaulty, allegedly, with over 20 damn female masseuses. And they see the frickin' problem here? They literally would have been better off just not suspending him at all. Because at least then we're dropping the pretense of bullshit of that anybody cares. At least then we're being honest about it. Not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. What's the point? There was no point to go through arbitration if you weren't going to hold to that. There's no point in extending the suspension out and you're not even going to make it the entire season. There's no point to any of this. And that's sad. Hope the Cleveland Browns fans enjoy what they've sold themselves out for. Some skid marks type of behavior. But as much as I want to sit here and be on the moral high ground here, I can't be. None of us can be. Because we clearly are okay with this shit. We don't care. And that's a really, really damning statement.